What grumbling sounds come from the mountain? A timeless growl of man's reflected evil. Many tales tell of whence the orcs came as history was recorded, lost, and recalled from clouded memories. From the days of lead and yore to the Pleistocene present, from Warhammer to Warcrow, orcs have always been the best. Greetings, Chromatic Warriors. Today we paint an orc. And with these techniques and knowledge, even you can paint a ball of Chad muscle.
Me?
Yes, you.
What?
With the release of Song of the Dormant on its way, let us give life to the dead. Plastic is dead, paint is life. A big thanks to the Belly for sending me this box of models. A lot of cool stuff in there. So, what color is an orc?
Green.
All right, I heard yellow. We're going to go with a yellow flesh tone. But what goes with yellow?
Purple.
I heard blue. This shirtless maniac is going on a snow base. To establish a frosted foundation, find some night sky and Aegis Aqua. Wet blend the two of these together with the Aqua placed more heavily on the front and the upper areas. To cap that off, I'll add highlights of frost blue, overbrushing here and there, painting sharper edges on the stones. This will all be submerged in snow, but you want to make sure there's some information showing through your potential blind spot. In sealing the deal, I'll take a brush load of water, combine it with a load of Tidal Wave from the Speed Paint range, a nice vibrant mid-blue to add to that icy feeling. Now for that yellow skin. On a base coat of Fiendish yellow, wet blend Fiendish yellow, and Sunburst ochre to establish your values and volumes quickly. Use a large brush, it's going to give you more control. As long as the tip is still in a relatively pointy shape, you're good. Take note here on the coverage. I'm not cutting a sharp shadow into every rounded crevice. At this stage, I'm taking a more general approach to the lighting, looking for more general shapes and ignoring the finer muscles and veins. Coming right back in, I'll wet blend more gradients. This time, pulling into the details a little bit more. I'm still using just Fiendish yellow and Sunburst ochre. Think of this as a wet blend with glaze-like consistencies. Don't overload the brush, and be sure the paint isn't running all over the model due to dilution. These are thin sheets of tint that work on top of the foundation. To follow that up, I'll be adding sharper highlights of Fiendish yellow, pulling out the veins and beautiful striated musculature. I'll be adding to the shadows with Sunburst ochre, again, feathering the tones at this stage, enhancing the two-color wet blend with more distinct highlights and shadows. I want a vibrant yellow, and to get there, I'll need a good level of saturation. That's all this is aimed at, but with increasing focus on details. Continuing to highlight and carve into the shadows, I'll add ice yellow to the Fiendish yellow. In some areas, I want to correct the mid-tones, adding a better foundation of Fiendish yellow before lifting up with ice yellow. If you see a problem, solve it. There needs to be a foundation of color beneath the following highlight to avoid being bad at painting. And take care to not maximize every area. The abs, for example, are a good way to stay limited to a Fiendish yellow at the brightest. The model is craned over in such a way the light is not going to penetrate the way it is up on the upper shoulder area. And fear not, you have more shadows to create. Mixing a small amount of Scarab green into the Sunburst ochre, I have a deeper shadow at my disposal. In the same way that I'm limiting the coverage of the brightest tones to the upper areas, I'll keep this shadow limited to about the navel down. Now, some areas of extreme chunkiness will require a deeper shadow. A bodybuilder carries their success. There is no need to boast. Do you train?
Just a few thousand days.
When you're painting a yellow orc, I feel it frees up the color green. Using it on the clothing is a fun nod to their usual green skin tone. I'll use Tainted Garden mixed with black to base the wrappings, and then wet blend pure Tainted Garden into place. A nice subtle shift in tones for a light absorbent material. For the skulls, I'll base them with the same color. This is going to bring harmony, simplicity, love, devotion, surrender, and speed to our work. And don't you love speed?
What?
Do you like secrets?
It was Jacques d'Ancourt who informed me that the High Priestess of Sealis has turned her gaze toward Dormant Lake, in the far north of Assail. He admits he has no notion as to why such a grim and forsaken place should draw her interest, but evidently, the lake's waters conceal more than one secret. So captivated he is by the Dormant One and by the curious tales that surround it, that he has composed a song in its honor. He insists it will become a staple at every fair and festival across Furdom. I do not doubt it. I had the privilege of being among the first to hear him perform this new composition, and as you well know, Jacques never fails to impress. I imagine he is now bound for Arbonneau, accompanied as ever by his inseparable Viralatas, who, I must confess, has laid waste to the curtains in my ballroom. Not that Jacques mentioned his destination. We both know he can be as discreet as he's charming when it suits him. He may well be headed toward the Ele Mountains instead. I would not be surprised given his long-standing camaraderie with Roland Lucier. I suspect that some of his knowledge regarding this mysterious lake stems from the captain of the Mist Guard himself.
Keeping things simple, I'll highlight those areas with the pure color that was mixed with black. Now adding pure Tainted Garden to any wrappings. On the bones, I'll apply Barren Dune. These highlights will be applied in a more spotted and less diluted approach in the case of the bones. I want the bones to have some of that faint texture I've seen deep in the wilds, a porous progression of decay, gnawed bones, feast of entrails. The woods are miles deep. Highlight the wrappings with Forest Fawn, the perfect piney lift of edge highlights and slight interruptions of texture. Light reveals detail. As the area beneath becomes brighter, I'll increase the amount of frayed edges. The bones will get a stark lift with Ivory White. Again, leaning on their porous and rickety nature, this brings a nice variety of texture into play and a nice heavy shadow to raise the power of the yellow. Have you raised your power today?
Purple.
I didn't think so. Please check the links down below for additional items in your quest for power beyond the mountain. Like and subscribe. Goodbye. A stone belt. All right. Let's wet blend together the darkness and gray castle. Pulling some of that bone approach into play, I'll leave a spotty but cumulative result. The hair will receive the same treatment, but with much less of the darkness involved. While that dries, I'll apply a sharper highlight to the stones, pulling out craggy textures and sharpened edges with gray castle, aiming to create highlights through saturation on top of the ruddy blend. I'm going to leave this here and see how it fits at the end. They may look underdone, or they may look like unpolished stones. It will depend how the levels of brightness are sitting on the rest of the model. Just have to wait and see. Next, let's do that long hair. All I'll do is highlight the individual hairs with gray castle again, and then Ivory White. What makes this special though, take note on the coverage. Notice how the blended fade is a map for my highlights. This is how I'll be sure to show it's textured, but not lose all the overall volume of the dew. You don't want to carve a middle part down the middle of the skull in black. Too intense. For the big frig off club, let's get a little funky and wet blend Brigadine brown to shade with Rifle brown as a highlight. I can use the Zenithal primer as a guide here, and it's helping to differ the tones. While the Rifle brown is still tacky, place some gray castle into the upper facing area. You're doing some heavy lifting with a 3-part wet blend, but nothing worth having isn't worth fighting for. You're getting so strong. I'm proud of you. To cap that off, I'll highlight it with varying mixtures of gray castle and Rifle brown. In very faint amounts, I'll go as bright as Grey Castle. As bark leaves the tree, it turns gray. It's a working theory, unless it's some kind of baby tree, a sapling for babies. To take care of the kill handle, I used the same approach I did on the leg wrappings. I was just unsure of what color I would choose on the handle when I began. It's green, baby. Real quick on the lip and the fingernails, also the toenails, a base coat of Scarab green, gradually lifting it in brightness by mixing it with Barren Dune. This will help keep these items in a yellowish hue, which works well with the skin in a very natural way. Keeping on with the tiny bits, I'll paint the quills in a base of night sky with a frost blue to highlight. This is a nice little way to bring the colors of the base onto the model, leading the eye back across the yellow when noting the blues. Color communication, Chromatic Warriors. To finish my coloring, I'm going to use some true metallic metals. I usually save this step for last when I'm painting so I don't get any metallic flakes in my opaque colors. Then I clean the water cup out as one does in the finishing process of every project. Let's use Cobalt metal. It has a nice blue influence and that will gel with the coming snow. Now let's shade that down with a diluted matte black, controlling a little bit of that glossy shine and metallic flake. This will give the following layer of tidal wave speed paint something to work with, filtering my shaded metal, defining the recesses, and having a cooling effect. Cool. To cap the metals off, a little touch of the Mithril. Book of Mastery tip. If you're going to varnish your model, I'd save this step until after. It will give it a little bit of extra lift, and looking better equals games won. Upon further inspection, I'd like to add just the smallest amount of white, adding a little more focus to the face and surrounding features to really pull the light upwards. Take your time here, you're so close. You've walked 99 miles of bad road. One more mile, and I'll give you a lemonade.
Lemonade. How many even is that?
That's like 100 lemonades based on the last video. From there, a heavy snowfall was applied. This is mixed up from white glue and white flocking. I'd keep them at a 50-50 mixture, a little bit of water into it to make things move around. But if you add too much glue, you don't have enough of that flaky white snow. So a nice 50-50 mixture, and you can always sprinkle a little bit of snow on at the end after you've set your clumps of glue in place. But once that is dry, I'll pull out the airbrush for a little stylish side spray of Hydra Turquoise. This model needs no shirt with muscles like that, no skeleton either, a body of pure willpower and blood muscle. Revenant! He doesn't look back, he doesn't feel pain. The only feeling is the pain of being brought to life with your feet glued to a disc. There is no escape for the Revenant and no escape from him. I hope you enjoyed this vibrant take on an Orky canvas. I had a lot of fun painting this, and it does harken back to an earlier project. I did a AOS unit entry for the Crystal Brush a long ways ago, maybe 2017. I lose memory, but the Jungle Boys were some yellow orcs. And then later I did some Warhammer Underworlds. Oh boy, Art Boy. This part is not written down. Obviously, I painted some Art Boys in a yellow scheme as well. So I love a green orc. Green is the best and my favorite color. But I wanted to do a little something different and a little something. I wanted to deviate from the studio scheme. So let me know how you feel in the comment section down below. Did I do a good job? I'm always happy to hear from you. Until we meet again, my friends, remain unchained. This is a nice little way to cap that off. I'll highlight it with variousing. To cap that up.